going to begin right here in verse 39 of Luke 6. He was speaking to us about how to function as a Christian, because he premised this by saying, give to every man that asketh of thee, and of him that taketh away thy goods, ask them not again. He was giving us principles of operation. He told us who was blessed and why they're blessed. And then he told us how to walk. Now, this way he's telling us how to walk. The world does not know how to walk this way, right? And this was after he gave the woes. Remember, he said, woe unto you that all men shall speak well of you, for so did they to their fathers, to the false prophets. But I say unto you which hear, love your enemies and do good to them which hate you. And then he gave ways to do good to your enemy. He said, bless them that curse you, pray for them that despitefully use you, and unto him that smiteth thee on the one cheek, offer him also the other. And him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take away thy coat also. In other words, if somebody takes your cloak away, right, don't stop him from taking anything else from you, right? Now, why would a person do that? Because I didn't explain this to you guys last time. I want you guys to give me some feedback. Why, if a person took your coat, took your cloak, right? In this case, if somebody took your scarf and they were about to reach and take your coat, why would you not stop them from taking your coat? Anybody know? Anybody know? Does anybody know? Somebody answer. Somebody give me an answer. Any answer will do. The Lord is saying, bless them that curse you. So he's telling us, hey, you bless them that curse you. How do you bless somebody? You bless somebody by giving them your love, what's inside of you. That's how you bless them. That's how you bless somebody. You don't bless somebody by giving them a cracker and then hope you never see them again. No, that's not blessing somebody. Blessing somebody is when you give them freely of your love. So if somebody takes your scarf, why would you say, hey, don't take my coat? Why would you hold your tongue from saying that? Somebody answered, they need it. Right. Listen, it means, this is incredible too. It means you're not on this earth for the reasons you may think, right? If somebody takes something from you that's specific, right, then obviously they have a need for it. And if you're loving your enemy, if you care about humanity, despite their state of mind, you're going to want to make sure they have everything they need. So you're not going to fight them on the issue of what they take. Listen, God can always replace anything anybody ever steals from you. In fact, if somebody takes something from you, one of the principles of our Father, right, is that you be given sevenfold back what's been taken from you. Why would you ever worry about somebody stealing from you when the principle is upon your life, whether you realize that or not? It happens every single day. Every day it happens. So if you truly do care about God's creation, because listen, you're not just some normal animal on the earth. You're a child of the living God, and you live on earth, right, of God's, one of his most cherished creations, humanity, right? Now, if you're a child of your Father and he truly cares about humanity, take a look around. What's around you? God's cherished creation, humanity. They are at different stages of growth. Some of them are dying. Some of them are not. They're all his children. That's why they're still here. You're put in the midst of them like big brothers and sisters who grew up spiritually, who are full of his love. That love you have inside you, that overwhelming compassion you have inside you, that was put in you. That strength to do good for somebody else. You're ready to fly in the face of everybody who would say no, and you're willing to do things nobody else is willing to do. Who do you think put that in you? The Lord has enabled you. He has empowered you. He has anointed you to have position in this earth as his child. So when you look at them, it doesn't matter if they're 120, 230. It doesn't matter if they love the Lord or don't like the Lord. They're at different stages of faith. of belief. Some of them are suffering at the gates of hell itself. You're supposed to go to the very gates of hell itself and pull them back out of the fire. My goodness. That's why you're here. You're not here to accommodate the evil works of destruction. That's not why you're here. You're not here to push somebody in hell itself. That's not why you're here. You're here because you're family with the living God. You're growing. Your understanding of things is far different than those around you. You are a living witness to this. You think differently than everybody else around you. You already know this. That's what makes you the oddball. You've always been the oddball. No matter if you're adopted or born into a family, you're the oddball. You believe in a very specific and different way. You're very firm behind certain beliefs you have. You have convictions you cannot articulate. And while everybody else is okay with certain things, you are not. And while everybody else around you misses things, you can see it. You're there for a reason. And if you were to look upon the children, the people of this earth, like, wait a minute, these are God's cherished creations, the ones who Christ died for. Right? And they become the apple of your eye. You're going to love your enemies. When you love your enemies, you're simply seeing humanity as your Father in heaven sees them. The Father loves all of his children. He desires that no one perish outside of him. That's why we've been given all this time to straighten our lives out. That's why evil can work amongst us. And those people who house evil, that's why they still yet live. Because the Lord still has hope in them. He's still knocking at the door of their life. And if he's knocking at the door to their life, why would we ever shut down? Why would we ever say, Jesus, don't knock at that door, don't knock at this door? But essentially, when you hate your enemy, that's what you're doing. You are not in agreement with God the Father or Christ Jesus as to his work on this earth. Do you know that? See how simple that is. So that when somebody takes your scarf, see them differently. You'll respond differently. We are children. A person may be old, they may be aged in wisdom. I'm telling you right now, they're still children. No living human on this earth is born yet. Do you know that? Only when we pass from this form, this state of being, will we have been born. Eternity is reality. This is the womb. Don't forget that. You're developing here. They are developing here. Right? You're like antibodies. That's what you are. And when you see a disease, you start jumping on that disease so it does not kill what is most cherished in the womb. No doctor is going to deliver an umbilical cord, throw the baby away. That's not what they do. Well, that's not what a sane doctor does. Humanity is that child to be delivered. Everything else around it is for support of that child's life. Every happening, every element. There's bacteria within the womb. Do you know that? Bacteria that would kill you. But if the baby were not exposed to that bacteria, it would not work up the resilience, cellular resilience, to even live outside of the womb. Do you know that? So the most deadly component inside the womb is used to cause the baby to be resilient against other things that are far worse. They would never make it without that deadly bacteria being in the womb. Isn't that amazing? Don't you think that's medically amazing? I think that's medically amazing. I think it also, it really demonstrates why darkness is here in the first place. Not that the Lord loves darkness, but it causes us to be resilient. Without darkness, we would still have a severe weakness and vulnerabilities. Because of darkness, we have been fortified on many sides, haven't we? We have faced evil before, and so when we face it again, we know what to expect, and we can walk right over top of it. Can't we see this? Folks, this is about seeing things in a very different light. These instructions are for a born-again spirit. You see how they don't match what the world thinks at all. They're on a totally different plane than how the world functions, operates, and sees. The Lord premised this. He also gets it. He said, but love your enemies and do good and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great. You shall be the children of the highest. Isn't that your goal? Most people say, Lord, I just want to be your child. I really want to be your child. Well, guess what? When you develop love inside yourself and you learn to give it away, because essentially that's what the Lord is asking you to do. Not give it away under condition. No. And I'm telling you again, once you see humanity as God's cherished creation, you're going to interact with humanity differently. You'll no longer judge situations among men, but you'll seek an insertion where you can help and assist what the Lord has already established. He put this birthing process in motion. We're not here to disrupt it. We're here to assist it. Everything has its place. He's telling us to be merciful in verse 36 and to not judge. See, there it is. Now, last time we read about this not judging, I know it was disconnected in the conversation somehow, that people can't quite get that. But you don't judge because that's not why you're here. You don't judge because the Lord is working in everybody's life. Everybody's life. Remember, Jesus stands at the door and he knocks. Next time you see somebody, before condemning them, understand something. The Lord is standing at the door knocking. If God was done with a person, they would not have life. Do you know that? They would not have life. So he's not done with him. Satan is the adversary. The Bible tells us we have an adversary called the devil and Satan. That's who the adversary is. Now, Satan works within weak vessels or vessels that have been compromised. And that's what you're here for. You're antibiotics, right? That's what you're here for. Wherever darkness is, God is going to send you right in the middle of that darkness to effect a change in that situation. So you take, right? You're just like an antibody. You go into very dangerous ground, and everything around you is half dead or dying. You are the one sent there to effect a change. That's why you're there. Have you ever wondered, why am I in the middle of this mess? Why was I born in the middle of this mess? Why is the world just messy? Because you are part of the cure, the solution. You've always been that way. God sent you right in the middle of a disaster, didn't he? Some of you even know you can't avoid ending up in a disaster. That's because you have a very specific calling in your life. An antibody, right? What job does it have in a healthy body? It has no job, so it stays dormant. It only activates in the presence of intruder cells and intruder viruses and intruder material. And it acts very fast. It waits. It exists to assist the body in ridding itself of intruders. The Father is doing all this work. You're sent to assist in that work, and you have a critical job, right? So when you start saying you're a child, you're family, then be family. Be family and remember how God the Father sees humanity. Be family, right? You know when the Lord said that a daughter is like the mother. As the mother is, so is the daughter. You remember that? Well, as the Father is, so is the Son. And Jesus told us that all of us are going to do the will of our Father. Whoever that Father is, we're going to do the will of that Father. And listen, that's true, because when you're serving the Lord, you tend to do the will of God. But when you're in mischievous mode, you're serving the cause of darkness. We all know what it is to be mischievous, to have one of those attitudes, like you're making fun of somebody else or you have the upper hand on somebody else, how that can snowball, escalate, how it can build up into something that's not so good. And believe me, you suffer internally from that, and you may not even know that, because none of that belongs in you. Right? We're sent here to effect change. You're put right in the middle of a diseased place because you are part of that solution. White blood cells. You know what they do? White blood cells, they go into diseased areas to kill the intruders. They kill intruders, and they also kill the healthy cells. There are a lot of casualties when you're dealing with white blood cells. And then the body goes back, and it finds specific cells just for the intruder. While the white blood cells are holding back the whole body from being damaged, right? And they're causing a lot of damage to both healthy and intruder cells. The body is in search of the solution of a very specific cell. That's when you're born. And when that specific cell is born, it has one job. It is let loose. When its adversary is out there, it is for this special cell, right? Just like the cell that comes to fight COVID-19 is not just any cell. It is just for COVID-19. So if you have the flu, the COVID-19 anti-cell, which is what you are, is not going to surface. It's not going to do anything. It will only activate in the presence of COVID-19. Do you know that? For every cold you have, for every viral infection that you have, there's a special cell your body hunted for. And when it found it, guess what it did? It elevated, it replicated it. It empowered that cell to make copies of itself. So it just grew to defeat the intruder. And then when the intruder was defeated, those cells, not all, but those cells, what they did was they turned off. One cell went back to its chamber and it waits for a specific intruder. Listen, so your body ends up with these vaults that looks for a specific virus, a specific intruder. Should it ever enter into the body, as soon as it enters, it's identified, that cell is let out of the vault to fight that specific enemy. That's why you're here. That's why we have a diversity of believers in the body of Christ. Each one of you has a speciality, what the type of darkness you've been exposed to, you've been fighting with, and you know how to fight it. It's not that one person fights all darkness. We collectively know how to fight specific things. We're the ones that stop the intruders from destroying the entire body, and we're activated in the presence of darkness. That's why you're motivated when somebody stands up and they start speaking antichrist statements. That's why you stand up in great opposition. When you hear things and a person's trying to tell other people that the Bible is nonsense, there's a mechanism in you that activates, and every single last one of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're ready to fight then. You know what I'm talking about. And who made the human body? Our Father did. You don't think this body mimics what's happening in the Word? You better believe it does. God is consistent in creation. From the heavens to the smallest particle, all of it tells the Word. It shouts the Word every single day while it's operating. Why animals are doing what they do in the wild. You know what they're doing? They're shouting out the truth of the Word. They are the witnesses to the Word. There's a demonstration to the Word. And when you begin to consider what God created, you're going to see the Word of God come alive right before your face. So we get all the way to the part we're doing all these good things, and the Lord gives us a promise. He's telling us not to judge in all these things. Now, when you conform, it's just 37, he says, judge not, you shall not be judged, condemn not, you shall not be condemned. Forgiving, you shall be forgiven. Now, why would he ever say, judge not, and you shall not be judged? Is that so because you're tired of people judging you, so you say, well, let me try this so people won't judge me? No, that's not what he's telling you. He's giving you a principle here, right? Here it is. Here it is. You ready for this? It's powerful. This is so powerful. After I say this, it's very simple. It's powerful. One of those powerful things that's only in a few words. After I say this, he says, judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. He's not saying this so that you can walk through life and say, okay, if the Lord said don't judge, so I'm not going to judge, so these people won't judge me. That's not why he gave you that. He didn't give you that for that. You ready? You guys ready for this? He says, judge not, and you shall not be judged. Why is he telling you this? I'll tell you why. He just told you that your children are the highest. He already told you that. He told you that. Now he's giving you a way to walk as one of his children, and this is very important. If you do judge, you're authorizing judgment. And when you authorize judgment in the area he put you in, you're giving darkness permission to attack you or to attack anybody in that area. Listen to me carefully. He's telling you these things not to do because he's already bound the power of darkness over you. We're the ones that set it free over everybody. And what he's telling you is this: there's authority in obedience. See, obedience is not just doing what the Lord said, but listen to me carefully. You're not just a normal cell in the body. You're not just a normal person in the earth. There's certain authorities that you have. And when you authorize things, when you release things into this realm of materialism, you authorize it to work. God gave you the power to shut darkness down. And if he gave you power to shut it down, then you also have authorization to allow it to move and operate. Should you not be there or neglect your responsibilities, darkness can do whatever it wants to do. But he's giving you power to shut it down. And he's telling you right now that if you stop judging people, you're not giving authorization for darkness to work amongst those around you in that judgmental manner. In other words, whatever you release is going to come right after you. It's going to work through people around you, yes, but it's going to come right after you. So he's saying, judge not that ye be not judged. He's not saying this because you're tired of people judging you. That's not why he's telling you this, because you shouldn't even care if you're judged. He's telling you, withhold, discipline yourself, and realize you're not just some normal person out here that has no authority, no power, no anything, but that he's giving you authorization. You have binding powers. Therefore, you have loosing powers. The average person out there can become a gateway to demonic entities, and they don't even know it. And if they have that type of authority, what in the world can you unleash? Let me tell you something. If you judge, you have effectively signed out of your authoritative position, allowing darkness to run free all around you. And chaos will be the end result. When you stand your post, darkness is instantly resisted by you. That's why he put you where he put you. You're the opposition to darkness. You are. You are. But if you abandon that post, you're allowing darkness to work through everybody around you, and it's going to come, not only will it get to them, but it's coming to you. So if you judge, you're going to be judged. Judgment is outside of our responsibilities and duties. It's well outside of that. If one of those special cells in the body, say, for example, you caught a flu, but you had the same flu last year, if that cell that's vaulted does not respond, let's say one day it doesn't want to obey, it doesn't want to come out, doesn't want to replicate, right? So it stays there. Do you not know what would happen to you? You would die of that simple flu virus. Do you know that? The only reason people don't die of a flu virus, and we're talking about every single flu virus, is because of those specialized cells. Do you know that? But if that cell would no longer respond to the signaling of the body, and it stayed vaulted and did not come out and replicate itself, the person would die. And indeed, that's precisely what happens when a person dies of the flu. They die of complications from the body being overwhelmed with it. And normally they have found that the cell no longer listens to the chemical signal to replicate. Isn't that something? That's how people die of the flu. It's also how people don't die of the flu. Because when the cell obeys, it comes out of the vault, it replicates into an army, and it attacks only those viral cells it was designed to fight. It didn't fight anything else. If it sees something to the left or to the right, it won't even respond. It is built to respond to that specific virus, and I'm telling you, it with precision, it wipes it out. Then it goes back into the vault. And it waits for the next time. See, you're exposed to viruses all the time. Here's the issue, though. You have specialized cells in the body that know what to do when that intruder comes into the body. Therefore, you don't even know that you are a carrier of the flu half the time, that you're a carrier of certain viral infections. You don't even know, because the body has built up what they call resistance, which means you have that special cell vaulted. It's ready to come out, replicate, start an army, and defeat whatever it's made to defeat. That's why you're here on this earth. Your Father in heaven designed this body. And I'm telling you right now, your calling is not so different than that specialized cell of which all life depends. Starting to understand? But if that cell decides not to come out, He's going to be doomed. Death will be the result. Knowing this with simple ears, hear me. Here's what 37 says. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. These are principles. These are cause and effect principles. These are testament to the post of which you're standing. This task that the Lord has given you, why you're here in the first place. And if you abandon or disobey what the Lord is saying, you allow darkness to work among other people, and it will get to you. It's going to try and take you out because you're the source of its resistance. That's why Jesus said you have one adversary, the devil. That's what you have. He said your adversary is the devil. He never named mankind as your adversary. He named the devil as your adversary. And the devil utilizes everything it can utilize to destroy you. Just like in the body, a virus will hijack other cells in an attempt to overwhelm that specialized cell. It's always hunting for the DNA and the material of the host it enters into. Do you know that? Always. It does nothing on its own. Every piece of power it has comes from whatever it stole from the human body. Do you know that? Do you know that? A virus within itself has no power to do anything, but what it does is it's good at infiltrating a healthy cell, and it robs it of its DNA, steals material, tricks the body into producing material for it so it can cause those cells to be corrupted. That's how it builds its army. But within itself, it has nothing. It has nothing. If it does not have material, it can steal, DNA can hijack. It just sits there like a bump on the log. It does nothing. It can't do anything. Just like Satan. Why does Satan have to have an earthly beast in the first place? I'll tell you why. Because the dragon is in the spiritual realm, and it can't do anything by itself. It has to trick people into becoming what the dragon is. That's precisely why you read in Revelation that the first beast, looks just like the dragon. Because Satan tricked people into building or cloning himself in the earth. In other words, he tricked people into building a satanic kingdom in the earth just like he is. Because he cannot do anything from that spiritual realm. Just like a virus. Just like a virus. Do you understand that? So then guess what happens? Because he can't do that by himself, he corrupts mankind to do it against you. That's what he does. Satan can't get to you by himself, but he can influence humanity to get to you, to do things to you, to bog down your life. We all know this, and that's precisely what he does. Don't you know that principle? In the spiritual realm, the authority for you to be hurt by that is taken away. So then guess what? What those spirits do is usurp people to cause people to try and harm you. Right? Now, when you step out of the principles of Christ, what you do is you surrender your authoritative position through disobedience. That's when you can be touched by other people. Why do you think Satan tries to attack children before the age of accountability? Or a person who's highly rebellious but has a genuine heart. That's who he gets to. That's why we sustain bruises and wounds. Because outside of obedience, they can get to us. Don't be scared by this. Listen, don't be scared by this. This is a consequence of becoming something you never were. That's exactly what Jesus says, too. That in the end, a lot of people are going to become what they never were intended to be. So you're predestined not to go to hell. You're predestined not to be a part of darkness. You're predestined to be a child of the living God. That's your point of arrival, right? A lot of people, unfortunately, because of Satan, will abandon that position and become something they never were intended to be. They will of themselves choose darkness over light. Please remember that. And although they face very little consequence here, the eternity they're going to step into is far worse than they can ever imagine. That is not your destiny. No. You're charged with a very high calling, not a low calling. Please remember that.